Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Here we are, it's still dark, but I see the daylight slowly arriving out there at 6:12 a.m. Central Time, Central Daylight Time. It's a little spooky. It was very spooky the last hangout Taste Challenge, if you remember. What it's not every day you do a hangout and Krampus shows up, but that's part of the scene. All right, we have Royal Canadian, the famous Royal Canadian. Well, not really famous because most people haven't heard of it. But anyway, on the market since 1937. Now, some of the viewers might say, I've seen that stuff at the bottom shelf. Yeah, and look, this is back when the 375 was still glass. And it's like a blown glass. It's strange because it has bubbles in it. It's like glass that somebody handmade. It's handmade glass. It's strange. It might be old, but who knows? Sazerac, Buffalo Trace might have thousands of these, or had thousands of these old bottles from like bottling plants that they bought, like Glenmore, and just used them, didn't waste them. This is distilled under supervision of the Distilled under supervision of the government of the Dominion of Canada. Blended Canadian whiskey. So there's the maple leaf as usual, the two lines, the crown. So from the Dominion of Canada. You don't really hear that terminology anymore. They'll just say Canada. Yep, Sazerac Company, Frankfort, Kentucky, which is Buffalo Trace, the Buffalo Trace distillery. So it's a huge facility. I've been there, and I mean, they showed us a lot of the place on the tour, and it was big, what we saw, but you could see it was much, 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 much bigger, and acres bigger than what you could see. So it's very plausible that they had just stockpiles of these old bottles that could have been decades old, and they just used them until they were gone. But if you get Royal Canadian today, the label has been changed. Now it just says under the supervision of the government of Canada. They dropped the Dominion of off, the kind of antiquated term, off of there. And that label's been updated a little bit from what I could see on their website. There is a Royal Canadian small batch, but I've never seen it. And I've told you the story about the Royal Canadian. I bought this at Ali & Sons. Ali & Sons on Louisiana Highway 18, eastbound side of the road. Well, there are no businesses on the westbound side since it hugs the Mississippi River. Well, at parts of it, at some points it hugs the Mississippi River. But really, most of the businesses are on the south side, really the south side of the road, the highway. That's the old Spanish Trail route. Louisiana Highway 18 in Marrero, Louisiana, believe it or not. It used to be Highway 90, but they built a new 90 expressway elevated south of that. You can zoom along. It's an interesting road, 18, but actually there's a lot of industrial characteristics over there, industrial things to see, and old businesses and houses and all of that. All right. But I was at Ali & Sons, and they had the Royal Canadian for $5.99, 2 bottles left. And they got a big sign, we do not negotiate on liquor prices. Now, on other things, they will, like their stereo equipment, which they acquired from who knows where. So I said, I see you have that bottle for $5.99. Yes, that is the price. I said, oh, I'll give you $5. And I had the $5. No, we did not negotiate on the liquor prices. I said, oh, okay. No big deal. I didn't care either way. I figured if I don't, I'm sure it's nothing great. So I was walking to my car across it's a 2-lane highway there. And I opened the door already, and the guy comes out shouting across. I heard something shouting across the highway, Kadi. It sounded like he said, Kadi, Kadi. I don't know what that word meant, but I looked back. He says, if you want to buy it for $5, you can have it. I said, so much for no negotiations. So I went back in and He said, you can have it for the $5. I said, okay. And I bought it. And that was tax included. You see what I mean? You say, well, I wonder how their tax structure works. Yeah, we all wonder that. Things tend to be very loose in Louisiana. Liquor laws, drinking age, and a whole lot of other things. All right. Well, what are we going up against? Rich and rare. Now, that's a good and bad thing, being loose. It's loose. It's good in the sense that you can get away with a lot of things that aren't necessarily illegal or are not illegal or shouldn't be illegal. And in other ways, it's bad because, you know, you can never get a job if you don't know somebody. You know, that kind of stuff is sort of like a Latin American culture more than what you're typically used to in English-based common law America. You know what I mean? This state is civil law, Napoleonic code viewpoint, which is based on the Justinian code, the Roman Empire, who had, not personally, but he authorized the codification of law so that it would be more understandable and equally applied in theory and all of this. So then Napoleon Bonaparte, so-called Emperor Napoleon I, wanted to make a more coherent law for France. So that's where the Napoleonic Code Napoleon came from, and Louisiana adopted that and kept it even when it became a U.S. territory and state. In fact, Napoleon was the first person to make a common law, civil law, you know, written, but for the whole country of France, because before him and before the revolution, the World Revolution, which started in France, that's a more accurate term, the World Revolution, which started in France. Before him, France had a medieval law, a feudal system, and so they had various laws for different provinces. France was similar in many ways to the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, except it was all French, and that they had a feudal system and not even a common trade system. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to mix them up. If you went from one province in France to another province, you had to pay taxes, import taxes, believe it or not. Each province had its own set of laws, its own rulers. So if you went from Brittany and then you went down to at the bottom to Navarre, or you went to Provence, all the different provinces had different sets of laws, kind of like the United States, but even more independent. The king on the throne had various levels of power in France. In theory, absolute power, absolute monarch, but in reality, not a whole lot. In reality, the provinces had more. So you get these revolutionaries, you know, left-wing revolutionaries, they always had that centralization idea. You want to centralize each country, then centralize each region. And, you know, the goal is to centralize the world, because that's their whole mindset, to build a one world system. You say, oh, here we go. Here we go. I didn't get on here for that. I didn't say you did, but I'm saying just study the theories, study the movement, and you'll understand that. If you're open-minded, you know, you got a lot of people that are so closed-minded. They have these formed ideas, and, you know, you can't break through those. They just... And it's kind of like with liquor. If you're not willing to think on it, but you're only willing to drink on it, you're never going to learn. It's like Stevie Nicks and that song, The Blue Lamp, you know, that was written for the movie Heavy Metal. That was a metaphysical song. And like she said, don't listen to her, listen through her. And that's what we're doing when we drinking or tasting these liquors. We're not just drinking on them, we're thinking on them. So it's more of an experiential metaphor. You say, oh, okay, so tasting whiskey at 5:30 or 6:30 a.m. is metaphysical. In some ways it could be, but at least you should, but you don't have to go that deep. You could just say, give it a chance and don't be in a big rush to just say, I did it. I tasted bing, 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 ding, ding, ding. I checked off all the boxes and I did it. That's, and you can do that. You can be more metaphysical with the tasting if you're not trying to build a brand. You know what I mean? Like if I had to worry about, I got to build my channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Buy my t-shirts. Buy my t-shirts, and you can get a bottle opener if you send money and handling cash, a check, money order, and credit card and handle and PayPal, whatever. Yeah, you got to worry about that. I'm not trying to build a brand. I would be doing this anyway. I'm just broadcasting it for your information or your enjoyment. I would do this anyway if there was no channel. So that gives you the freedom to be a little more, like I said at the beginning, loose and not constrained. All right, anyway. I want to swim like a fish. Oh, they're both the same shade. They're both gold. And I don't believe either one has an age statement. I know the Rich and Rare does not. And I don't believe the Royal Canadian has an age statement. Nope. That's probably the minimum, which would be 3 years, right? My daughter said, ugh. Then she admitted later that the Royal Canadian wasn't actually bad. It was just so different than what she is used to drinking. Okay, so her drinking regimen never involves Canadian whiskey or Scotch. It's more of a bourbon, either bourbon whiskey from people she hangs around with, affiliates with, and usually like expensive bourbon whiskey, or gin, which is a totally different ballpark, right? Not even the same league. It's not even the same sport almost. It's like we're doing baseball and your experience is hockey, so it's really not going to line up. But she admitted that, no, it's really not bad. It's just so like different. She couldn't get a handle on it. And in her mind, it was dull. It had no flavor. Now I would go along with that. The Royal Canadian is not super flavorful, but it doesn't taste like they have the added flavors either. The Rich and Rare says flavorings added, natural flavorings added, which could be the wine, sherry wine more than likely, but it doesn't have to be sherry. Now the Canadian Government of Canada website doesn't specify that. It just has to be wine that was aged in wooden barrels, and then it has to be, and what does it have to be? At least 2 years old, or is that the spirits? You could look at their website. I could find it for you if you needed. And then it can be rum, brandy, and even bourbon, American bourbon, blended in with the Canadian grain whiskey and malt whiskey and rye whiskey. And you say, well, that's a lot of variables. You can get some really wild flavors if you're putting all that in there. Yeah, that's right. So when you do Canadian whiskeys, there's a lot of variation in the flavor. Whereas you do the American blended whiskey, you don't get too much variation. It's much more difficult to do the taste challenges because they can add flavoring, but they have to disclose it. So the only flavoring they don't have to disclose is the blending sherry. It could be up to 2%. You say, well, that's a pretty big amount, up to 2% blending sherry, but they don't have to disclose it. So any blended American whiskey you get, American blended whiskey you get, could have up to 2% blending sherry, or it may not have any, but it could, and they don't have to, it's not required to be disclosed. But if they add coloring, have to put it on the label. Canadian does not have to. And if they add any flavorings, have to put it. Okay. Tutorial over, tasting beginning. Okay. I think the Rich and Rare is going to be more noticeable in the sense that it's going to have more of the flavorings in the aroma and taste. This one here just smells like grain whiskey and a little of the honeycomb. You say honeycomb. Yeah, like literally oat cereal to some extent, which you know they don't use oats. But that honey, and I guess in the sense of what we're talking about, honey-like flavor. But you get that with the Canadian Club. It has like this honeycomb and this honey base. It's strange. You know it's got some kind of flavoring though. Now the Canadian Club 12-year age is different. It's almost like they don't even use the same base whiskey. It's so bizarre. You could make a TV show or part of a TV show called The Some Bizarre Show. Okay, now this is throwing me off a little bit because they both smell quite similar. But maybe this one has a little more candy aroma, which is making me think Rich and Rare. Now, I have to admit, I was quite shocked by Rich and Rare. Quite shocked, stunned, really, because it was going, or I should say it was performing much better than I had believed it would. Much better. I just thought, heck, $7.49 at Walmart, a bottom shelf, it's just going to be total junk. And then there's the Rich and Rare Apple, which I'm not going to buy, but I noticed some people do. But then I started reading and I said, the 19th best-selling whiskey in the United States. It's in the top 20. Well, it can't be too terrible. I mean, who would buy it, you know? You say, well, Rockdale Light is horrible, and that's at Walmart. Yeah, but Rockdale Light ain't even in the top 200 beers probably in America. And I noticed Rockdale Ice disappeared quick from Walmart. They sold Rockdale Ice over here, and I noticed it's gone now. It might have lasted, what, 6 months? I don't even see a tag for it. They must have yanked the tag. Some people, you know, Louisiana's, I criticize it, you know, and everything, but you got people here, they'll drink it. They'll bring it back. They'll say, this stuff's spoiled. So they might have brought it back to Walmart and kept complaining, and then they said, kill it, kill it. So I think initially this could be the Rich and Rare, and this could be the Royal Canadian. Because this one has more of that wood barrel standard Canadian whiskey aroma. Just that grain whiskey. You're getting corn, a little spice from rye, and maybe bread from malt, and just a lot of wood barrel. Not unlike the VO, you know, the Seagram's VO. But this one is a little more candy, but you know, it's not profoundly different. Now, somebody was commenting yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, saying, oh, I'm really worried about you. He made a long comment. I didn't take offense to it. I don't mind those kind of comments if it's a nice tone and it's respectful, you know. We've talked about the comments in the past that are the sharpshooter troll comments, you know, the attack comments. You have all these faults, and let me lecture you on what's wrong with you. And that's okay if you tell me that once, but you don't necessarily have to tell me that every day for 3 years. It's kind of like, we get the point. What's the point? Why do you have to tell me this every day for years? And then bring up things like, well, in 2013, you reviewed this beer and you said this. And it's like, okay, that's kind of weird because you know more about my channel than I do. So that would be bringing in a little like insanity into play. But the criticism, we're fine with that. So he was saying, I think it's out of control now. You're doing taste challenges simply to drink in the morning and get drunk, and you do Busch Light again and again. You just want to drink all the time and be an alcoholic. I said, no, you don't understand. I said, no, it's convenient in the morning because I can get it done and go do other things. And secondly, it's a round robin tournament. Let's please understand what is going on here. It's a round robin tournament. The only way to do it is to do these continuously. It's every brand in its class, like in this case, Canadian blended whiskey, against every other brand that I have. And it just goes in a rotation. That's what it is. Now, if you want to think it's to get drunk and all that, I mean, I cannot convince you otherwise. I mean, I know I live my own life, but I can understand what I've said in the past. If you're only seeing these, you see, you only see the liquor, wine, and beer. You don't see me fixing the breakfast and making the eggs and the omelet with the jalapeno slice and the sliced yellow onions and the pepper sauce and the black pepper and the sliced turkey. Thank you, David, for the sliced turkey spam. Never had it before. It's pretty good. Wouldn't really buy it, but it's pretty good. So you're only getting one. I'm not going to sit there and make a video of me watching a football game. I'm sure that wouldn't be. I don't do vlogs. I have no interest in watching a vlog. Okay, taste. Just giving you a little information on that, how we try to approach things here. Now you might say, well, if you don't let me attack you every day on your video and make ugly comments to you, I'm going to put a thumbs down every time you make a video. I'll show you. I mean, you can do that. There's an option to do it. You can go round up a bunch of friends and get them to do it. There's no real limit to how insane a person can be. You say you're prejudiced because I can be insane and be a viewer. I have that right. You do have that right. There's no restriction on it. I mean, just because I don't do it, there's some channels I don't care for. I don't watch them. You know, I don't put it on my alert so that every time they make a video, I can run to it. But you say, well, you don't have the mental problems. I understand that. That's why I don't do it. I just don't watch them. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, I think the Royal Canadian is a little bit more expensive. I think if you went and got a full-size bottle at the store, it'd probably be about $12 a bottle, I believe. Taste challenge is an important word right now. Challenge. This is a challenge now. I'm not kidding. I didn't think it was going to be, but it is. Okay, comments. Bill McIntosh. Oh, hey, Bill. Morning, Ron. Headed out for a run. Yep, Bill is a big-time runner. I'm more of a walker, you know. Just wanted to say hello. Have a great day. You too, and be careful running, and keep rolling with that. But I got to say, the one on my left hand, you're right. It's got a much harsher grain alcohol presentation, like harsh. It's very, like David Garlipe says, bitey. It's very bitey. We did the, and I'm going to post that soon, Jack Daniel's Green Label. He liked it. He thought it was very interesting. He says, quite bitey. It's not smooth. This thing over here is not smooth. But, you know, sometimes smooth gets a little boring. Like everything's got to be smooth, mellow, mild. Even with the IPAs, we've gotten away from all that bitter hop, strong hop stuff. And if you can't appreciate the fruitiness, you are just too passé. Well, okay, I don't mind being passé. I'm telling you what I like. So I don't really mind the bite. I don't even mind the harshness, but I could see how a lot of people would just say, oh, no, And that's making me think that's Royal Canadian, because that one in the past seemed to have a little bit too much scratching you, you know? Yowza. Now let's check this one out. Nowhere near as bitey. It's got the flavoring, you know, like some kind of variable candy flavors. Oh, well, yeah, it's underlying grain whiskey, of course, because that's what most of these are. When you see the word blended, generally that's what you're going to get with Irish, Scottish, or Canadian, or American. It's going to be a base of grain, column still grain whiskey that is not going to have a whole lot of flavor. That's your foundation. That's your foundation. The flavors are going to come from the straight whiskeys added, the single malt, the straight bourbon, and whatever other things are thrown in there. And it may work, and it may not. In the case of Royal Canadian, it kind of works. You know what I mean? Like, it's tolerable, but this is really one of the least enjoyable ones I've had. It's something about it. It's just, your argument might be, you need to man up. It's a man's whiskey. You're a wimp. You're a wimp. Can't take it. That's true. I cannot. Bet you can't take chewing tobacco either. I can't. That stuff go. Oh. Can't handle that stuff. I don't know how people can chew that stuff all day and they're not high as a kite. It's like a drug, you know. It's like cocaine or something. It's no thanks, baby doll. Cold since 92. I like for my scotch to have that tingle or burn on the back end that makes your mouth water. Okay, see, so everybody is not hung up on smoothness. Everything don't have to be like a water slide, you know, like a slip and slide. Abrasiveness can be good in some ways. Now, you know, like some of the beers I like have a little bite to them. Now, it's a personal preference issue. That's not a quality issue, really. A lot of people confuse quality and personal preference, that they're the same thing. Like your personal preference is a reflection of quality when it might just be what you like. And there's some beer reviewers I don't like for that reason. I'm not going to name names, but you know, I could. But like they'll say, well, it's not a good beer because I don't like the style. And I'm always watching and I'm slapping myself saying, well, you know, your enjoyment of the style is irrelevant to the quality of the product. I don't like butterbeans, all right? So I'm not going to get up here and do Louisiana butterbean reviews and then rag on every canned butterbean I get or bag, you know, and talk about how garbage it is because I don't like butterbeans. That doesn't make any sense. We've run into that problem on Rock and Roll Club, you know, people saying that's pop music. That's pop music. I hate pop music. Well, good. Don't listen to it. Why do you feel compelled to go after somebody for their post? Hell, I'll watch all your crummy posts. I'll listen to all your crummy music, all your obscure rhythm and blues music from some obscure club in Cleveland that nobody ever heard of, from an act who sold 10 albums. And I'll listen to it, and it's okay. And you're talking about it as the greatest thing ever. And you say, that's real music. It's not garbage like Fleetwood Mac. I'm like, okay, right. And then somebody will post ABBA, you know, ABBA, Dancing Queen on Rock and Roll Club. And then they got to go and they got to like lecture them. Why are you posting that? It's like, why are you commenting on it? Like, don't ever post the Grateful Dead, you know, because there's always, you know, those people that hate the Grateful Dead. You ever notice that they feel compelled to go around telling everybody that? You know, you might have a group of people at a tailgate party listening to the Grateful Dead over there, and then somebody who doesn't know them will walk across the parking lot and say, I just wanted to let you know I hate that band. It's like, why would you have to tell them that? Is that like a rule of human existence that people who hate the Grateful Dead must go around telling everybody this? I don't understand these kind of things. Okay, well, I prefer this one, and I think it's rich and rare. So my conclusion is, to me, you hear what I'm saying? To me, I'm only one person. I can only taste my own whiskey. I cannot taste yours. But to me, this is rich and rare, and it's better. So if I was going to buy Canadian whiskey, and I actually might do that, unlike American blended whiskey, which I have no plans to buy anymore. I said I have no plans. Like Hillary Clinton had no plans to run for president. I told everybody that means she's going to run. It's just a better product. It seems better put together, you know, more well put together. Now, would I try the Royal Canadian small batch? Well, yeah, I would, assuming that the price would be fair. I'm not going to go pay $40 a bottle, and I didn't even care for the Royal Canadian. I have about, what is that, 10% of the bottle left. Oh, I mean, I plan to use it in some more taste challenges. It's kind of dark from this side, but when you do that with it, it's very light. When you're looking at it from the thin view, it's kind of light. Oh, well, I'm glad I bought it. I only paid $5, heck. Okay, let's boy, if I'm wrong here, I'm gonna feel very, very concerned. Yeah, it's rich and rare. I got it right. I did it, I did it, I did it, I did it. So I was a little thrown off on the aroma, but when you started tasting it, you could see. And that old rich and rare, boy, I mean that that Royal Canadian, boy, that's got that jackhammer smoothness, that sandpaper smoothness. You know, that Velcro smoothness. Whoa. So if you want to try a whiskey, Canadian, imported Canadian whiskey, bottled at Buffalo Trace, that has the smoothness of Velcro, sandpaper, Ajax Comet, and a jackhammer, get this. Well, I got to say one thing about it. You can't confuse it. You know, you're not going to think it's other things. It's unique. But unique may not necessarily mean good. All right, well, that was interesting and fun, I thought. You say, oh, all you do is ramble on about metaphysics. No one cares. No one cares about A, metaphysics, B, rock groups, C, old highways, and D, beer reviewers you don't care for. No one cares about that, okay? They just want to see the blended whiskey examinations. Well, yeah, but how many people watch these things anyway? You know what I'm saying? So, and the other commenter who was getting on my case yesterday was saying, you don't even hardly have any views for these taste challenges, only like 50 or whatever. Oh, I never expected that they would get a lot of views. They're long, they're drawn out, they're speculative, and you would imagine they wouldn't appeal to a wide audience. Like I said already, it's a private activity which is available to the public, okay? If I do a Busch Light, which, yeah, I've done enough Busch Light videos, right? Yeah, it's going to get hundreds of views. That's not a lot of views, okay? Charlie Bit Me gets millions of views, tens of millions of views, okay? So believe me, beer reviewing is small time, okay? It's small potatoes. In general, you could be the #1 beer reviewer in the world, guys. You know what I'm saying? With 25,000 subs, guys, and you ain't big. I don't care how many t-shirts you sell, you ain't big. So that's just the fact of the matter. You want to be big on YouTube? Do some construction videos, how to build a cabana, how to fix a toilet, leaking toilet, how to cook beef Wellington. You know, do that. Then you get views. This thing here, this little Nicky Knack beer reviewing and Nicky Knack whiskey stuff, this is small time. But then what I told you already, I'm free. I'm not constrained because I ain't trying to build a brand. Okay, enough rant and rave, but that's what these things are for, rant and rave. Oh, I got a feeling, like the Beatles said, a feeling down inside. Oh yeah, that after a walk and some exercise, that there's going to be some beer reviewing coming up to be posted on this channel. And as far as getting tired of doing beer reviews, no, it's been nearly 8 years. And the way I see it, really, and I'm honest, I'm not just saying that to try to like position things. I really do believe that it's been a nice little start. Like what I've done so far has been a nice little start. I feel like it's like the beginning of the channel. And now I'm thinking sometimes like, what's it going to be like when I really get into it? Like when we get into the meat of it. And then one day it'll be like the end of it. You know what I mean? As we wind it down. I hope when we're winding it down, I have a cane and my hair is all white. And I'm like saying, now what we're going to look at next, what is the complaint? What happened? You know, and that would be really nice. All right, thanks for watching this video production. And I'm going to end this review. Oh, this examination by saying, y'all come on down to very quickly brightening southeastern Louisiana. Enjoy the heat because it's hot. Oh, so miserably hot.